Well, we'll go ahead and jump in and get rolling and be respectful of everyone's time. But again, I'm Aaron Evans. I'm the president of WRS. We're here today talking about winning with mail. And so just a few things about that as we jump in. So first of all, why do mail? And WRS is we are an award-winning mail firm. There's a lot of really good mail firms around the country that does very similar things that we do to help Republicans win with mail. So we're going to basically just kind of dig in. I know several on the webinar, just from some of the comments that you've already sent over. Several here are running for local office, so you're running with more limited budgets. Some of you are running for federal offices and some for state. And so we've got a good mix today on the webinar, and we appreciate each of you taking time to be here. We're going to try to present value to each of you. And some, in reality, you may actually be planning on doing some of your own mail versus using a firm. Some of you may already be using firms or looking for solutions. And so we're going to try to present enough of a wide variety to really help you succeed with mail, regardless of your specific needs for your campaign. But first of all, why mail? So every voter gets tangible point of contact from the campaign. I think first of all, mail is one thing that you can basically give someone that they can hold in their hand, and we like to say it's the one piece of the campaign that they're forced to throw away before they have to actually hold it in their hand before they throw it away. And so where it might be, many other things that we also use in campaigns regularly, such as texting or phone calls, or you can hang up on a phone call, you can delete a text message, you can ignore an email. But with mail, they actually do have to hold it in their hand and walk it to the trash can, even if they don't read it. And so they're still seeing your name and your brand, which is very helpful and important. It can also reach households that you can't reach physically. Now, for some running, this may not be an issue. You may have a district where you have very accessible housing, and you're going through GOP data center or I-360 or some of the different things that you have an app and you're going door to door, or you've got a walk list and you're going door to door, and your district is fully accessible. If so, then congratulations, that's excellent. But many districts do not have that luxury. Some of our clients we've worked with in the past, you may be in a large city, and so you have high-rise buildings and there's an access code to get into that high-rise building. Or there may be large swaths of neighborhoods that are that have gated communities where you can't get in to knock doors, or apartment complexes where you'll knock the first 6 doors, and then all of a sudden security will show up and tell you that it's not allowed there. So there's certainly a lot of challenges to doing doors, even though it's a very important part of a campaign. The nice thing about mail is it allows you to reach households with something tangible that you can put in their hand that you may not be able to reach in any other way. A lot of rural communities, it's totally impractical to be able to go to a house because you've got, in some situations, half of a mile between each house. And so, again, mail can really fill some of those gaps. It also reaches older age groups, and I think that's one of the great things. So with mail, you can reach millennials, you can reach younger voters, but you can also really penetrate those older age groups that are more inclined to read their mail, and they may not be prone to getting a text message or to see digital ads, but you can still reach them very effectively with mail. One of the other things we've really seen is voters being able to take mail to the polls. One of the things we really love doing is, as we get closer to election day, we basically send out a voter guide for our candidates with all those specifics. Remember to take your ID. Here's when the polls open and close. Here's how to mark the ballot. And it's really awesome when you see people coming to the polls on election day carrying your mail pieces, and that's their guide through their voting journey. And so we've seen that time after time, election after election, and really shows the ROI on mail when voters are showing up at the polls with that in hand. It also establishes that your campaign is professionally funded. Earlier on in the campaign, when people start getting mail, it really shows you've got a serious campaign. It shows that you're running an aggressive race, and people take note of that. And the voter's more likely to remember, key things. And that's one of the reasons, especially with a lot of our mail, we try to make it creative or different, and we don't want it to look like your typical political piece. And so, creating something that's memorable, something that people can look at. Um, the the sample mail piece here on our slide actually is more of a combination of giving them polling information for election day based on the county, and then just giving them a snapshot of checking the boxes on the key issues that they may care about. And so that again could easily be a piece that they could use on election day to tell them if they live in this county where to vote. So that was effective in that manner. A voter is 70% more likely to remember something visual. I think using graphics, being visual, is certainly a key part to successful mail strategy and program. So we've also, would be remiss to talk about mail without first exploring some of the challenges. What are some of the reasons not to do mail, or what are some of the challenges in utilizing mail for a winning race? First of all, it's more expensive than digital and phone calls. So, with mail, you do have the postage cost, you've got the printing expenses, you've got mail house expenses. And so it can really get it's expensive, especially if you've got a large district, and that is one of the challenges that keep people from really leveraging mail well. And especially even in some of the smaller races, you may have a local race, and it may be a lot more inexpensive to mail to your local audience than maybe a congressional race, but you've also got a much smaller budget. And so, so just again, that same challenge. Requiring major logistics planning. Mail can be a real headache. If you've ever tried to do it on your own, maybe you're here on the webinar today, and you're here because you have tried to do mail on your own, and you understand that there's major logistics planning involved. First of all, you got to determine who it's going to. A lot of times we'll have first-time candidates that will reach out, and they're doing every door direct mail because some local guy down the road told them that's the best way to do it. And if you're unfamiliar with that, that's basically where everybody in a postal area receives your mail piece. The problem with that is a lot of them are not even registered to vote. They're Democrats, they're Republicans, they're fill in the blanks, and then a lot of them aren't even registered. And so while it's cheaper on the postage, which is the number one reason a lot of people like every door direct mail, it's a big waste of money on the political side. It's great if you're opening a business or starting a church or doing whatever you may do, or promoting a local nonprofit, but where you're really trying to get the word out to everyone. But with a campaign, you really want to micro target. You want to make sure that everything you're doing is data driven, and making sure that you're every person you contact, you have a reason that you're contacting that person to make your campaign dollars go as far as possible. And so who's it going to is vital. And that's a big question to ask before you do a mail program. How is it sorted? How is it being mailed, and who is mailing it? Are three other big questions that you have to ask. The sorting part is key. You can, with a good mail house, you can save quite a bit on your postage for the exact same mail piece to the exact same audience, just because they're sorting it properly. And a good mail house knows how to get your postage price as low as possible to make sure that your dollars are going as far as they can. And a lot of times, a good mail house will actually save you enough money on that service that it actually pays for their fee, and you still come out ahead than if you were trying to do it yourself and paying the full postage price for the postage. And then also lack of reliability through the U.S. Postal Service. Good case in point on that. We just had statewide nomination processes here in Virginia, and for governor, lieutenant governor, and attorney general. And my wife and I have been we're still getting mail. The process ended 2 weeks ago, and we're still getting mail from gubernatorial races, lieutenant governor's races, attorney general candidates on a daily basis, where mail is just now being delivered to our household, and the election's been over for over a week and a half. And so obviously not the best use of campaign funds, but there's some very professional mail firms that we're working with those campaigns. And so at the end of the day, the post office has become less and less reliable. And while there's a certain guarantee that they provide. It's really in quotation marks, and oftentimes you've got to really plan for that, plan for those delays in mail arriving at someone's house. You cannot mail with the precision of deliverability that you once could. The post office is really, over the last year and a half, it's really getting worse and worse in many ways. And so that's another challenge with mail, and kind of being able to determine exactly when the mail is going to arrive. And there's many things that a professional firm can do to mitigate that, but it really takes some careful planning and knowing how to deal with mail. So now moving on to advancing tactics and solving problems with direct mail. And again, we definitely want this to be interactive. So as we're going through this, kind of just throwing some thoughts out for you today, there is a Q&A option with Zoom. And so if you click that, feel free to ask any questions. And as we get to the end of this, if you ask the questions when they come to your mind, when we get to the end, I'll answer a few questions if anyone has any. So advancing tactics and solving problems with direct mail. First of all, introducing the candidate. Direct mail is a phenomenal way to introduce a candidate to the electorate. It's an early introduction to the campaign brand and the candidate. If you are able to raise enough money to send out a mailer early on, it's a very good, strong introduction. You can introduce people to your platform. They can see your images of you and your family. They can see what you're wanting to present to voters in the best light possible. And I apologize for my voice today. The pollen has been insane in Virginia, and so definitely been struggling through the pollen the last couple of days. Response mechanism to identify volunteers, meet and greet hosts, and potential donors is another great way to utilize mail early on. Having a response mechanism where maybe you have a perforation on your first mail piece where people can sign up to be on your advisory committee, or be on the campaign team, or volunteer for doors, or host a meet and greet, or host a fundraiser, and they can actually mail that back into you, giving them something to mail back to the campaign, and using that to prospect volunteers and campaign supporters, and do some voter ID early with mail. Also, the ability to tell a cohesive story throughout the campaign. There's a couple different approaches to mail that different campaigns use. Sometimes you really, it's every mail piece is its own silo, and it's all different issues and different stories and different things. One of the things we really like to do at WRS that's really worked well for us is putting together a strategic mail plan that over the course of the campaign allows us to tell the story of our candidates over the course of consecutive mailers. And so basically, they get a mail piece that introduces the candidate, and then maybe a second mail piece talks a little bit about the candidate's background or story, what they've accomplished. The next mail piece may highlight a little bit of the vision of what a candidate is wanting to accomplish once they're in office. And then maybe do 2 or 3 mail pieces on different key issues of the campaign. And then another mail piece that creates a contrast now that you've built your foundation, creating a contrast with you and your opponent, and then kind of have a closing, a couple closing mail pieces that pulls all that back together and ties the knot really nice before election day. And that's one of many strategies, but there's some really cool stuff you can do to really tell stories and introduce people to who you are as a candidate, and highlight what you really want to bring out in your campaign. And repetition is vital, because you're not just competing against your opponent. You're competing with Verizon, you're competing with Comcast, you're competing with Walmart, you're competing with all of these different retail and commercial organizations that are also fighting for attention and bandwidth of those same voters to sell them whatever it is they're trying to sell. And so you have to find ways to weed through that, the busyness. It also allows you to create a negative narrative for your opposition and define your opponent early before they can define you. Mail can really allow you to, just the way you can tell your own story, you can also tell your opponent's story in the way that you want that story to be told, and in a way that matches the taste and the intensity level that you desire for your campaign, whether it's very tasteful and non-intense, or whether it's a campaign that you already know is going to be a very tough fought campaign, and you can hit pretty hard, or anywhere in between. So it provides a contrast in your race. Micro-targeting specific groups and messages is also a great way to utilize mail. The nice thing about mail is you can mail it to whatever list you have. So, we've very often will do separate mail pieces to maybe the Korean community in a district, or the Spanish speaking community in a district, or do a specific mail program just to a specific model of Republicans, or a specific model of maybe softies, or an independent voter that we might need to swing over to our side. And so it allows us to really micro target specific groups with specific messages as well. Ultimately, mail is a great way to impact the two main areas of campaign messaging, which is ID and persuasion. Building your name ID up, doing that before polls start running, letting people know that who you are, what you're about. Hopefully, you've got a cohesive core campaign theme. There's one central message that you want people to know about you. Mail can reinforce that, and everything that goes out can reinforce your brand and everything that goes out, your name and everything that goes out. And then persuasion, really reaching into those swing universes, reaching into those softy universes and trying to pull them over, persuade them on why it's important to vote for you. If you're in a primary, persuading people on why you're the best choice in that primary, and pulling them over. So mail is great in both of those aspects. One of the things that's really been key that is really important in today's mail is, and one of the things I'm the most excited about some of the neat things we do with mail, is merging direct mail with new technology. Mail's been around for a while. It's been a really core source of voter engagement for campaigns now for many years. But there's some really cool new technology that we're integrating now with our mail that really can make a big difference. MultiPoint Delivery enhancement. Basically, we every single mail piece that we send out is got a tracking code on it, and so we actually can pull up and see exactly when mail's being delivered to. This is one of the solutions also to one of the earlier challenges we talked about ensuring deliverability. But we actually, at no extra cost, we include this on all of our mail. It's trackable, and so if you go and drop something in the mail, you're not going to be able to have that option. We actually have a computer system we can pull up and look at what's being delivered when. What's the percentage of our mail program that's been dropped and delivered in what parts of the state or what parts of the district has that been delivered to? So it's really cool technology. Because we have that capability, then we can do digital and phone follow-up. So then once the mail piece has been delivered, we can then put a 2-day pause on, between the mail and then a couple days later, then we can have a live call center start calling people and chasing the mail. And basically, hey, this is Aaron Evans with John Smith's campaign for Congress. I know you just received a mailer from us a couple days ago. I just wanted to call and see if you had any questions about the mail piece, and see if John can count on your vote. So there's all kinds of neat things that we can do along those lines because of the technology implementation and being able to actually know when the mail is dropping for each voter. The same thing with digital. We can upload the same mail list to our digital ad platform, and basically we match those voters to their digital profile. We normally have about a 70% match rate. So then they're getting the mail, and then they're actually seeing that mail piece. They're seeing a digital version of that mail piece when they're on foxnews.com, or when they're reading their local news on their local news website, or maybe they're reading a blog, or maybe they're playing their favorite game on their Android or iPhone, and they're actually seeing an ad mimicking the mail piece. And it just, again, gives reinforcement of that same message. Repetition over time is really key in politics. Informed delivery is another neat thing. Now, this is something the U.S. Postal Service has introduced a couple years ago, and it's really starting to take off. And so we basically create a custom landing page for each direct mail piece that we send out. And anyone who's subscribed to Informed Delivery they get an email from the post office the day before the mail arrives, and it shows them a picture of the mail that is coming into their mailbox the next day. And if you get informed delivery, you'll notice most of those are just black and white scans. Well, what we do is we actually create a full color image that we upload to the Postal Service when we do the direct mail program, and we link that to a landing page that we create. And so anyone with informed delivery, they're scrolling through their email and they're seeing all these black and white scans, and then all of a sudden they're seeing a color image of our mailer that has an interactive click through, and they can click and go straight to our landing page where we can capture their information. They can watch a video, all kinds of neat stuff. And we actually have really good success with that in click through rates. And it's just another way to add value to a mail program and integrating mail with technology. And these are emails that the post office has that we don't have, that your campaign doesn't have. But by utilizing every aspect of technology that we can utilize to give our candidates that extra edge, we're able to really make an impact with the informed delivery. And it's fully reportable as well. Interactive mail, so also utilizing QR codes. QR codes was one of those things that was some of the coolest technology that was never used. And then all of a sudden during COVID, QR codes was the thing. I mean, it's became popular and people know how to use them. And so QR codes are kind of back in fad, and people know how to utilize them well. So utilizing QR codes on mail, SMS short codes, inbound live texting program. We've done multiple mailers where we would set up a inbound texting line where they could text for questions about early voting, and then we have live people ready to answer their questions. Anything we can do to add a human interaction element to mail, and these are multiple strategies that's really worked well for us in merging direct mail with new technology. Why consider using a professional mail firm? And this is just a few thoughts. And again, everything that I'm sharing, these are all things that if you're doing this on your own, it gives you values of things to think about. These are all things we do standard. So for any client that calls us and says, hey, we want you to help us with mail, then this is just stuff baked into anything we do by default. But a professional mail firm like WRS, we can help with savings on postage, again, by doing the sorting properly and understanding the mail process. We can definitely drive postage costs down. Professional design graphics, we've got professional graphics designers. That's all included with our mail costs. So you're not having to go pay a designer and then pay a mail house, or pay a designer and then everything's going to look fully fleshed out, fully designed with professional designer. From day one, we'll go through revisions, whatever is needed to get that right. Familiarity with the industry. Also, doing political mail is very different than doing commercial mail. And so it is important that you have someone that understands the nuances. There's specific ways that political mail, for instance, can be mailed at a cheaper cost, but still getting first-class deliverability speeds. And political mail is the only mail in the country that can actually qualify for that. And so if you're using a mom and pop shop that doesn't do political, or you're doing it on your own, a lot of times you're going to miss that. So you'll spend more to mail it, and then it'll have slower speeds because you're basically using a local shop that's not as familiar with some of the perks and benefits of how and why to do certain things to get your political mail mailed cheaper and mailed faster. Also, just having a partner to solve problems. I mean, having lost mail, that can be a big nightmare, anything along those lines. And having a firm that you can call that basically can help navigate through the complexities of mail is alone worth utilizing a firm such as WRS or some of the great firms that are out there that does quality mail. And then also allowing the candidate to focus on voters and raise money without stressing over mail. And I think that's key. We could make that argument for a litany of vendor services, whether it's mail or whether it's other forms of voter contact. But ultimately, there's two things that are limited in every campaign. That's time and that's money. And so, some campaigns have more time and less money. Some campaigns have more money and less time. But those are two things every campaign has a limitation on. And so there's only so much you as the candidate can really there's only so much time that you're going to have. And so it's important that you put your time into the things that only the candidate can do, and then hire out all the other stuff so that it can be done first class while giving you the bandwidth that you need to connect with voters and raise money. Here at WRS, we are an award-winning mail firm. So actually, the slide is out of date already, but we actually are a 2021 winner now. That just was announced a couple of days ago. But last couple of years, we've won national read awards for our mail programs, and then we were also the finalist in multiple categories that we made as well. So I think just the commitment to quality and innovation and finding unique ways to really get to know you as a candidate or you as a campaign, or to work with you as a consultant if you're a consultant, and basically find ways to innovate, find ways to make things top-notch, first class, and really drive those votes. And so that's something we really take pride in doing. I'm going to just leave this slide up for the rest of the time together. We've got a couple questions, but this is my contact information. You've got my email address and our office line, and of course our website. We would certainly love to help you if this has been beneficial. Reach out, let us know. We can do a free consultation on how we may be able to help with mail in your race, and answer any questions that you have. So let's see. Here's one question that is actually a very good question. Do you drop mail in the state it is going to, or do you drop mail from your state? For WRS, so we do mail nationwide, and we basically will drop mail from regional centers. So, for instance, if we're doing mail out west, we do a lot of mail that comes out of Colorado. If we're doing mail down south, we have distribution centers that we can basically print and drop the mail from in Georgia, Florida, and Texas. We also we also obviously, are based in Virginia, and so we certainly can mail out of Virginia. But we have a lot of logistics partnerships to ensure that basically the mail is delivered as fast and streamlined and affordably as possible. So really, wherever you're at in the country, we have we've done mail as far north as Chicago, as far south as Florida. We did a lot of mail out west last year. We do all kinds of mail across, the east and central. From that standpoint, that's a phenomenal question. But so in short, we do not mail everything from Virginia, even though that's where we're based. Some firms try that. It's extremely risky. Every new postal center that your mail has to go through adds risk of delays or indeliverability problems. So we always try to get it as local as possible, to make certain that it is distributed flawlessly. And then another question was, do we lean to one political party over another? And the answer to that is definitely yes. So we are a Republican firm. We work with independent candidates who are not running against Republicans. So a lot of the local races run as independents, and in that we will work with independent candidates as long as they're not running against a Republican candidate. And then in state level and federal level races, we only work with Republicans. Again, unless there's not a Republican in the race, and maybe the more sensible best option for that race is an independent that's running against a Democrat, then we may get involved in that. Great questions. And then we've got another question that just came in. Do you offer any other services to candidates? And so another great question. We are full service firm. So we are a nationwide digital firm, which means we can target, and that's kind of, we talked about that a little bit and how we merge that with direct mail. But we can take your voter file. We can also provide a voter file. You may be on the call or on the webinar today, and you may not even have voter data. We can provide that, help you identify who you need to target, who you need to reach, and then we can basically match that to their digital profile. Targeting voters where they're at, whatever website they're on, whatever app they're on. They see your ads, and we can do that through static ads or video. We can also place video ads even on Hulu or Apple TV or Roku, things like that, directly in-house for you, and really save you a lot of money on penetrating your audience digitally. And then we are a strategy firm. So if you're running for office and you're wondering how you're going to get from where you're at today to a win, we can actually help you develop a campaign strategy, and we do provide those services as well. And then we also work great with other consultants, and you may already have a great strategist and you don't need the strategy element. Because we do strategy, we know what consultants need. We know what strategists are looking for, and so we can seamlessly work with your team to give them the tools they need to deliver message digitally, live texting. We can also do automated dials. We've got great solutions for live dial, voter contact solutions, and direct mail. So, and then how can we stay in touch and know more about other webinars that you put on, and will you be putting on more about the other services, is the last question that I see come across here. And the answer to that is we would love you to stay engaged. You can sign up on our website for email updates and stay in touch with us that way. You can also follow us on Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, or LinkedIn, and we will also be putting out updates with future webinars. But we do plan on doing a lot of these, and really just getting into the nuts and bolts of some of the things we've got coming up that we'll be talking about. Will be everything from one concept is even specifically for candidates in how to even deal with the stress of being a candidate. Especially coming out of COVID, there's a lot of stress that candidates have experienced. It can be a very overwhelming process. How do you even deal with balancing business life, family, and running for office? And so that's a webinar we're actually looking at doing. That's has nothing to do with sales. It's just here to help you survive being a candidate and thrive in what you've chosen to do. We'll also have things coming up on winning with digital, and winning with live texting, winning with live dials, some of those types of things. So definitely stay in tune and in touch on that. And then actually one other question came through. Does WRS have the mailing address database, or is that something the candidate has to provide? We do. So basically what we would do is strategize with you on who you're trying to reach with your message. And we actually have a nationwide voter file. It's updated monthly. We have tremendous data. And so we can either use your data or we can use ours. But we include that. So again, that's no extra. If you're using us for mail, we basically can provide the database for you, and it's a well-refined, updated database, and we can target whatever segments of the voter population we want to target, and we can provide the data as part of that overall mail cost without you having to go buy another database. So that is another excellent question. Well, thank you again for joining us today. I want to be respectful of everyone's time. We try to keep these between 30 to 45 minutes because we know everyone is busy. But stay in touch. Shoot me an email. Again, my email is on the screen, aaron@wrs.gop. Would love to hear from you if there's any other questions, anything we can do to help you. If you'd like a free consultation on a specific mail program just for your campaign, or for a campaign that you're involved with or connected with, would love to help with that. And I really appreciate your time today. Hope everyone has a great rest of your week, and go win.